Welcome, everyone, to Couch Potato Diary. My name is Peter Klein. Thank you very much for hanging out here early on a Saturday morning. Things got away from me yesterday, so still a lot to talk about, so I wanted to come on and do at least a quick one for everyone here today. We're going to be looking at the NFL playoffs, obviously, but kicking off with a pretty tough last 48 hours or so for Toronto Blue Jay fans. So we'll get into all of that on this show. Presented by Sea of Dead. Head over to seaofdead403.ca for all that great Calgary swag. I make the joke about, I'm very choked up about it. Got a little frustrated about how things were going down over the last little bit here with the Toronto Blue Jays and everything that happened in free agency. So let's talk about what has been a wild 24 hours in the baseball world. Let's start with the big signing of the offseason, as Kyle Tucker is on his way to the Los Angeles Dodgers on a gigantic contract that has sent the baseball world all over the place. So, Major League Baseball's evil empire now resides in Los Angeles. After that was the nickname of the Yankees for a long time, the Dodgers have one-upped what the Bronx Bombers of that era were doing with the signing of Kyle Tucker, a $60 million contract that, when you factor in luxury tax and everything, will cost the Dodgers $126 million. And there are a lot of different ways you can go and look at this one. Let's start with what it means for the Dodgers, and obviously the World Series champions get better. And from a baseball standpoint, I think there's a reason why this aspect of it hasn't been discussed as much, and that's because we already were talking about the best team in baseball, and now it is tough to comprehend when you have a top of the lineup of Ohtani, Betts, Freeman. Now you're adding Kyle Tucker to it, with then Muncy behind, and Teoscar Hernandez, and Will Smith, one of the best catchers in the sport. This is the juggernaut, the likes of which we have not seen in a really long time. And look, like the Dodgers, obviously, back-to-back World Series championships. They won this year not playing their best. This was not their best season. And they got pushed to the limit by the Blue Jays in a series that, when you look back on it, Toronto probably should have won. When we're talking about different decisions that could have been made in the 18-inning game, when you're looking at the ball that gets wedged in the outfield, and just a couple, we don't have to go back over it, but the Blue Jays had a lot of opportunities to beat the Dodgers, and LA still comes out on top in a season where they weren't their best, in a season where they had a team that felt like a team of destiny going up against them. And now, like, Sasaki is only going to get better. And then you add in Diaz at the back of that bullpen, which was the only, flaw that this team had. And now, instead of, okay, well, let's just make a bit of a tweak here in the outfield, you go get the best free agent in the sport, then it feels very juggernaut-ish to me. So for the Dodgers, I don't begrudge the Dodgers for what they are doing here. This is the system that they are in, and I think more teams should be like this. Instead of, okay, well, we have this hole, well, we can plug it with this guy. It's like, okay, we have this hole, let's get the best player available for that. So, credit to them. I wish more teams were as aggressive. And the Blue Jays have been aggressive, but it has fallen short a number of different times. I was saying with the Bregman contract that it's tough for me to analyze contracts in baseball because there's no salary cap. Just pay them. If you can afford it, pay them. And all these teams can afford it, so just do it. I had a tough time saying, okay, well, this guy's overpaid. Well, this guy's overpaid. Well, look at what the Blue Jays just did. They made $100 million for their owners with their run to the postseason and within a run of the World Series. $100 million. So that pays for any investment you want to make in any player. And so I was saying, man, I don't, it's tough to say there's a bad contract in baseball. These have come close. This is an absurd amount of money to be paying what is probably seventh most important player on your baseball team. Like just an insane amount of money. A $60 million contract for Kyle Tucker. I just like when I saw the news, I was really frustrated by it. And then you see the contract, it's like you can't even get upset at the Blue Jays not doing that, or the Mets, or the Yankees, or whoever. Like that is absurd to sign that guy. And for Tucker, I don't begrudge going out and getting paid because that's a lot of money, right? Like that's that absurd amount of money. I would like to be the one on the receiving end of a sort of absurd amount of money at some point in my life. That being said, some of the reasoning in the reporting behind it feels borderline cowardly. When it's like, well, he didn't really want to go to Toronto, and he didn't want to be like the face of the franchise type of a guy, so he thought he could go to the Dodgers, still be competitive, still be a big part of it, but not have to be the guy. And it's like, man, that just kind of goes against a lot of what you would want someone making that amount of money to be. So I joked about it. We did a Twitch stream when the news when the Bo news broke, talking about a few different things, and I joked, but it's not entirely inaccurate. If Tucker would have signed with the Blue Jays, there are some things that obviously we'd be overlooking, and now that he hasn't, they all of a sudden become main character plots for him. But you did hear some stuff about how he's not awesome in the locker room, and now to have that come out and say like he didn't want to be the one kind of carrying everything, but still be paid like someone carrying everything. It just, there are a couple of red flags that are popping up around this guy that maybe make it feel like this is not the worst player that you missed out on. Talent-wise, there's no question about it, and he's going to be amazing with the Dodgers and everything like that, but it's just, yeah, there's a couple of things that have popped up that make it a little bit like, maybe an unanswered prayers sort of a situation happening. But again, if he signed with the Blue Jays, I would not be talking about, hey, a couple red flags. So I'm fully admitting some bias on this. On the Blue Jays front, I said this again on the Twitch stream. This, I think, needs to signal to Toronto that a strategic shift has to happen now. And look, they got to within, again, a heartbeat of the World Series a few times. So what they did worked last season. But this whole go out, make a big presentation, a big splash for the big name free agents, and hope that it works, and have it stall out for a while, and then, it didn't work, what are we going to do? This has been 3 off seasons in a row. And now Toronto, this offseason, got their work done early, at least, so they could afford to just kind of sit back and wait. But if they were maybe that aggressive in the Bo market, maybe our next segment was going to be about Bo Bichette sticking with Toronto, right? Like, it was obvious who the apple of their eye was, and it is feeling more and more obvious that the Blue Jays are being strung along in these to boost up the value of these contracts rather than a real legitimate thing. Because there is never going to be a better time to recruit players to Toronto than now. When you hear all the stuff about the clubhouse, all the stuff about how this team was amazing for families to be with and all of that. And then to add on to it, they gave the Dodgers an incredible scare. This was the time that they were going to be able to recruit someone big like a Kyle Tucker to be able to come in and really just put that team away. And they didn't do it. And so now I think you have to accept those guys aren't coming to Toronto, whether it's because of Canada, whether it's because of this, that, and the other thing, who knows? But they're not coming here. They don't want to have to get their passport out every time they come home from a road trip, which seems like the most pampered ass shit you could think of, but that apparently is where these players are coming from. So, whatever. I think you now have to pivot and try to own the second tier of free agents and try to, okay, we have our star in Vlad. We had a secondary one in Bo, and that's going to work. But you have your star in Vlad. Now let's build around it with like the second tier of guys and really own that area and continue to improve the draft develop system that they have going on. That there were quite a few success stories from this minor league system over the last 18 months. I think there need to be more of them now. Like this isn't working now. It's 3 strikes and you're out. I think you have to pivot now strategically if you are the Blue Jays. And we'll talk more about what they have missed out on with Bo here. Like, obviously, that's the next thing that we're going to be talking about. But for them, this is still a good offseason. Like, it is still a successful one. And this is still a team that is better than the one that exited the World Series. But that is because of the pitching now. The offense is not. For a 162 game season, it's not. Like, they made a great run in the playoffs without Bo Bichette, but I don't think they get to the playoffs without him. And that's like the guy who almost led the league in hits with missing the last month of the season. And they really missed him in that last month of the season before they were able to turn it around. After Kirk got thrown out at first base from right field. So this is obviously a hit for Toronto. To not get one of these two guys would have made them the stone cold lock favorite out of the American League. And there's still time. I think there is probably still a move coming for this Blue Jays team, but they're going to have to get a little bit more creative in everything that they are doing. So that's the thoughts kind of from the Tucker side, from him, the Dodgers, and the Blue Jays. What do you guys think? Have I been unfair in any of my assessments of this? Let me know in the comments, and we can chat about it down there. And while you're at it, share this with some of your baseball fan friends, whether it is sharing in the misery of Tucker joining with the Dodgers or another free agent that got away for the Blue Jays. Let me let your baseball friends know that we're thinking about them, and we can keep that conversation going with all of them. Let's move now to the other big signing that happened almost immediately after, as Bo Bichette goes to the Mets, a move that no one really saw coming. And when you see the contract, you kind of see why. So, Bo Bichette is on his way to Queens, signing a 3-year, $126 million deal with the amazing Mets. And this was not something that anyone was anticipating. Like, it felt like at the beginning of the offseason, oh yeah, Bo's going to stick around. Like that, Bo is going to hang out with the Blue Jays, and he'll take some offers, but eventually he'll come back to the warm, welcoming arms of his best friend, Vlad Guerrero Jr., and the organization that drafted him. And then as it went along, it's like, well, this might not happen here. And the market was quiet for a bit, and then all of a sudden it was like, no, this guy's asking for like superstar level money. And then the Phillies come in late, and it feels like, get your Bichette jerseys printed. Like, this is happening, lock it in. And instead, the Mets at the 11th hour come in and just like hammer down this remarkably player-friendly contract for Bo and lock him in, and lock in a very dangerous top of the lineup now for New York. And for the Mets, it has been a frustrating offseason with Diaz leaving and with Alonso leaving and now trying to pivot. But this is a good pivot now. When you're looking at the lineup with Lindor, Bichette, Soto, Polanco at the top of your lineup, and then Abidi can kind of turn things around a little bit. There's a lot there for this offense. Simeon as well. Like, this is, lineup-wise, this is a really, really good offensive team. And bringing this kid in, like, he's still, this isn't a traditional free agent. Like, he got to free agency young. And I get he's a little bit banged up, and there are some concerns with how he's going to age, which made it, I think, a little surprising that he locked in on a 3-year deal when maybe you could be looking for something a little bit more long-term. But they went uber short-term with the 2 opt-outs after the first year and the second year. So this could be a 1-year, $47 million contract because he gets a $5 million bonus if he opts out. But I think this is a solid move for the Mets. When you just look at what they're trying to do offensively, it is a puzzling one when you're talking about what they're going to do defensively, because their whole conversation this year this offseason was run suppression, right? Like they need to be better at keeping teams off of the scoreboard, which is why that they make the move and bring Simeon in and try to adjust that way. Like, there was a lot of, we got to get better defensively, which makes it a little curious that their corners of the infield are going to be played by guys who have never played those positions in Major League Baseball before, with Polanco and then Bichette playing over at third base. So my guess is, and I'm not the only one saying this, but my guess is their goal now for run suppression is to go out and acquire Tarek Skubal and just have a very good pitching staff to try to work through that. Because that is still a need for this team. Like, this helps them. Obviously, this makes them a better ball team with Bichette in the lineup. That being said, the pitching staff is still not good enough. The bullpen is still really not good enough with Diaz leaving for the Dodgers. Like this move makes the top of their lineup look just as scary as any other team's. But you're asking for a lot from some young pitchers who stepped up late in the season to kind of carry this pitching staff into 2026. So the Mets still have quite a bit of work to do to try to I think, get into the category of the Dodgers. And even like I still don't think they're better than the Phillies. So they got some work to do here to try to kind of close that gap a little bit. But this is a heck of a start. Again, from a Blue Jay standpoint, this one stings a little bit with Bichette being this like young up-and-comer through the organization, a guy we heard about all the way through with Vladdy. You just kind of felt like this was the next cornerstone of the franchise. And then to have the big moment in Game 7 of the World Series, getting the home run off of Shohei Ohtani in the third inning, and him not really being able to be there during the whole build-up to it in the Yankee and the Mariner series, and then to have that moment, and now the bitter disappointment of losing, and then Bo leaving just adds a whole nother layer onto it. And again, I don't begrudge the Blue Jays necessarily because it's a silly contract. Like it is. I love Bo. He's not worth more money than Vlad Guerrero Jr. And I don't care if the market has changed in the last 8 months. Like he is not. He's not. And so to get that and then all the opt-outs that he had as well, that would be a really rough contract for the Blue Jays to be handing out. So I'm not going to be one who boos him or anything like that, but it does sting a little bit more than I was expecting it to, but it is softened a little bit by the guy got paid and gets a big deal with the Mets now, and it's out of the division as well for Toronto. But what about you, Blue Jays fans? Are we pissed that Bo Bichette isn't sticking around? Are we pissed at the front office for not being able to do more? And what do we think now about the New York Mets? Let me know down in the comments. Not doing this one live. Normally we do, though, over on twitch.tv/primetimepk, also youtube.com/@couchpotatodiary, and kick.com/primetimepk. Live schedule is going to be a little bit all over the place this upcoming week, but because I'm going to be on 960 for the next couple of weeks, actually. But the plan is to do one Monday at around 3:30 Mountain Time would be the plan for the next live stream that we're going to do with Couch Potato Diary. We'll have a lot to react to on that one because it's playoff time in the NFL. The divisional round is here after a wild card weekend. What do we get for an encore? Let's look at the 4 games that will lead us toward the conference championships in the NFL. So the NFL Divisional Round is here, and with that, we have some incredible matchups to get excited for here in the Divisional Round. Let's start with one that's happening just a few hours after I'm recording. It is the Denver Broncos at home against the Buffalo Bills. Broncos favored by 1.5 points. For Buffalo, it was a thrilling victory last week against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and now this week, it's an interesting test again, because I think you are facing a defense that is better, but an offense that doesn't scare you quite as much. I said in the X Factors, and I will say it again here, the big thing that Buffalo needs is a big performance from Keon Coleman. The Bills are not going to win this game if it is a grinded out defensive battle. They need Superman to have his cape on again. They need Josh Allen to be out there and being a dominant quarterback one more time against a Denver defense that is smothering. And we just I feel like they go a little underrated, honestly, because we've just accepted good defense in Denver. That's what they do. They are that good and that dangerous that it's just and by the way, they're also just one of the best in the National Football League. So when Buffalo has the ball, that is going to be such an interesting chess match with a dominant defense that the Broncos have and a Bills offense that was 8th in the NFL, eighth worst, sorry, in the NFL eighth best in the NFL in pressure rate allowed. So they're going to have to get after Josh Allen. That is going to be the chess match, I think, that decides this for an offense that was top 10 in basically every category that you could find. Defensively, this team has struggled. And specifically, Buffalo has struggled against the run. Last week, I don't think Jacksonville did enough to exploit that. And I'm curious to see if Denver will this week. I don't know. Like, they don't have the talented backs that Jacksonville has. I think Harvey will get there one day. I don't think he's that right now. But it's still Sean Payton, and he is still really good at attacking defenses in the ways that you need to. But we have also seen this season, they have put a little bit more emphasis on trying to get Bo Nix into a new category of quarterback. And I just don't think he's that guy. And I think that has come at the detriment of the offense a little bit here this season. So I'm curious to see the game plan that they come out with here against this Buffalo football team. But I think in the end, I have to go with Josh in this spot with Allen, who everyone has talked about the path that he has in front of him now. But I get to take points and have the better quarterback in the matchup. I will do that. We're going to go with the Buffalo Bills plus 1.5, and probably just a straight up money line pick here as well for Buffalo. In the next game, we have San Francisco taking on Seattle. The Seahawks favored by 7. They're not messing around when it comes to the points after we watched Seattle dominate this San Francisco team a couple of weeks ago, and I think we're going to see the same thing here. This is a great story for San Fran and what they were able to do against the Eagles, but when we look back on that game, I think it will be more about what the Eagles didn't do than what San Francisco did do. It's an amazing story that they've battled through all these injuries to win a round in the postseason, but this is a different animal. Now, this is a San Francisco defense that is like top 2 in the National Football League. And I think it's an offense in Seattle that can take advantage of some of the issues that San Francisco does have on the defensive side of the football. So we're not going to do a full, both sides breakdown. I think Seattle has the edge everywhere. With the injury to Kittle, it's going to be a lot of CMC, a lot of Jennings, and that defense is just too good to allow that to happen. And then offensively, San Francisco's defense has struggled significantly this season. They were 25th in EPA against the pass against Sam Darnold, who is going to be able to just pick this thing apart, I think. So, yeah, give me the Seahawks here, and I will take them minus the 7. We go to Sunday, and it is the Patriots taking on the Houston Texans. New England is favored by 3.5. When Houston has the ball, CJ Stroud has to be better. He really struggled in that game, and the final score looks like it should with that one, but it does not, I think, represent the struggles that Stroud had, especially early. For the Texans, you have to hope that his struggles were just jitters in the early part of a playoff game, and now he has been able to work through it. No Nico Collins hurts them significantly because of how good this secondary can be at locking down the opposition pass. It's a really, really solid defensive team over on New England. But I do think some vulnerabilities can be had there. And they had a field day with a beat up Chargers offensive line a week ago. This is still, I think, a tough test for them. And I think one ultimately that Houston's going to be able to have at least a little bit of success with going forward. When the Patriots have the ball, that's the key to this game. This Texans defense has to be as dominant as it looked a week ago. And I think they will. I think with the issues that the Patriots still have a little bit on their offensive line, and that secondary is it's too good to get beaten by guys like Booty and late stage Stephon Diggs and all of that. I think this is where the Patriots are going to see that the quality of the opposition they faced this season was not up to playoff standards, and the speed and the power that the Texans can play with, I think is just going to be a little overwhelming for Drake May in this playoff game. I think he's going to do everything he can, but I think he's going to get beat up a lot. I got the Texans plus the 3.5 points. And then we close this thing out with the Rams against the Bears. You have the Rams favored by 4. It wasn't as dominant against Carolina as you would want it to be. And the Bears, I think, are going to be a pretty trendy pick here because, they're at home. and they finished really strong against Green Bay. I have some concerns about Chicago's secondary being able to hold up here against the Rams, but also Chicago was 24th in defensive EPA per rush during the regular season. That two-headed monster of Corum, and Williams, I think is going to be a real problem for this Bears team. And then we talked about it last week or earlier this week in the X Factors. I think the athleticism of the linebackers for the Rams being a little bit higher than that of the Packers, and just the quality of them in general, is going to take a lot of the plays to Loveland away, and going to take a lot of those scrambles for Caleb Williams away as well. So I like the Rams here, minus the 4. I think they're the most complete team left in this playoff, and I think it sets up a really fun divisional matchup no matter who wins on the NFC side on Saturday in the late afternoon. So those are my picks for the NFL Divisional Round. I can't imagine I just went 4 for 4 on you guys agreeing with me. So let me know in the comments what you disagree with, and we can have some fun football chats down there. Also, if you enjoyed this, you can bring Couch Potato Diary with you wherever you go. We are available on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. That's going to do it for the show today. Thank you guys so much for hanging out and being patient with me after missing things yesterday. As always, we're presented by Sea of Dead. Head over to seaofdead403.ca for all that great Calgary swag. As I said, the schedule this week is going to be a little all over the place because I'm back on the radio for the next 2 weeks here. So keep it locked on my social medias. I'm at Primetime Klein on X, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and Blue Sky. Keep it locked for all the updates there. If you're listening in podcast form, make sure you hit that subscribe button, leave a review. That stuff really does help this podcast grow. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you know when we go live again. Because look, I love doing these just in general, but I love it when we get the live chats going. It makes it so much more fun. So come hang out next time we go live here on Couch Potato Diary. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.